In this video, we'll discuss colons and dashes as they appear on Smarty Prep. First, let's talk about colons. The most important rule for using colons is that what comes before the colon must be an independent clause or a complete thought. What comes after doesn't matter as much, but usually what you'll have is a word or a phrase, a list, or even an independent clause. So if you are aware of how to use periods and semicolons, where you need two independent clauses on either side of each punctuation mark, colons are different. They offer more flexibility. But the primary thing, again, is just that there's an independent clause before the colon. Let's look at some examples of colons used incorrectly. For the first one, it says, Detroit is the largest and most populous city in the state of Michigan, and it is also the largest city on the U.S.-Canada border. So in this case, we do have an independent clause before a colon, so it does meet the number one requirement. The problem is, after the colon, you're usually going to show what you mean by the first statement. Here we have a second independent clause making a separate statement starting with and. That is incorrect for colons. We would just want to have a statement, if anything, that just illustrates the previous statement before the colon. And we would not want a coordinate conjunction. We would not want one of the fanboys, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. For number two, let's take a look at why that's wrong. Detroit is known for its contributions to various genres of music, such as, techno, Motown, jazz, hip-hop, and punk. This is one of the most classic wrong answers that you might find on a colon question, because it does not have an independent clause before a colon. The such as before a colon prevents that clause from being an independent clause, and therefore makes it incorrect. In general, we do not mix such as and colons because they do the exact same function. They alert the reader to the fact that you're going to provide examples or show what you mean. For number three, it says Detroit receives 19 million visitors per year, making it an increasingly popular tourist destination. Let's go ahead and read number four because it's wrong for the exact same reason. Detroit and neighboring Canadian city Windsor are connected via the Ambassador Bridge, which is the second busiest international crossing in North America. In both 3 and 4, we have, again, independent clauses before the colon, which is good. However, the phrase after are modifying phrases that are modifying a specific word or idea in the previous sentence, in the previous clause, not illustrating the entire idea spelled out from the previous clause. So anytime you have a modifying phrase, you're not going to have a colon. So those are the exceptions to the overall idea that the basic thing that you just need is an independent clause beforehand, and honestly, whatever you want after. Let's talk about dashes. There are two primary uses for a dash. If you have a single dash, it's inevitably going to be acting like a colon, which means it has all the same rules: independent clause before the dash, and a phrase or independent clause illustrating what you mean after the dash. A pair of dashes, on the other hand, is very different. These can be used in place of a pair of commas to set off non-essential phrases. So in those instances, it's important. We can call a non-essential phrase, we can call it a comma sandwich or a dash sandwich, with the idea being that you need the same kind of punctuation on either side of the non-essential phrase. So a strategic approach in that situation is circle any dash you come across while reading, as it may indicate another is needed in order to set off a non-essential phrase. So you have to have this two-pronged way of looking at a dash. Maybe it's acting like a colon, maybe it's one of a pair that's acting as a non-essential punctuator. Let's look at some examples. Las Vegas is the most populated city in Nevada. About 650,000 people call Las Vegas home. That's an example of a dash acting like a colon. And in example 2, we have the opposite. Las Vegas, dash, where approximately $5 billion a year is spent on gambling. Dash is the leading financial, cultural, and commercial center for Nevada. So in that case, the dashes are acting like pairs of commas. So that's it for colons and dashes. Happy skill building on Smarty Prep.